Well, let's start this morning with this uh, cybercab that was spotted in the being driven around the lot up in Burbank of the upcoming 1010 program. People were like panicking that this is the weirdest looking vehicle that they've ever seen, but others now are pointing out that there is apparently a very substantial plastic outer body here that has been used to significantly and totally camouflage what they're really doing. So if you see this, if it pops up today, you'll know there's almost nothing that you can gather from what you're seeing here, other than maybe the overall size of the vehicle. And some people are talking about that this morning, but we will see as the day progresses what that really turns out to be. All right, so this morning the stock is starting up like completely wild, just absolutely flying around, but in a range, in about a $4 range, about $2 higher, $2 lower. Just for fun, I'll just take a quick look to see where it is right now, but it's just been going back and forth. Right now it's down $1.05. It's been up to and down to. But we're talking about jumps, huge jumps. So maybe I didn't pay that much attention to what the volume is right now. Maybe there's a lot of volume. It is a Friday. So there could be, I didn't even look to see if there's options expiry. Maybe you could let me know in the comments below if maybe this could be options activity. Anyway, with that in mind, let's take a look at what the news around it might be that could cause, this kind of thing. So from investing.com, we have that Canaccord revised its delivery and earnings estimates based on its analysis of global data spanning around 40 countries now. Our enhanced database, they're doing a big deep dive. Our enhanced database now covers delivery data for about 40 countries on a monthly basis, Canaccord noted, highlighting their improved tracking system for Tesla deliveries. They said that despite the challenging global automotive environment, Tesla's performance has remained strong. Canaccord's updated estimates project Tesla's third quarter deliveries at 469.2. I believe that's extreme. Well, no, that is in the middle. Okay. Let's call it 470,000 vehicles compared to the consensus estimate of 458. I've seen other consensus out there more like 465. Anyway, while this is slightly lower than the previous estimate of 480 from Canaccord, it still signals solid growth. The firm noted that in September is typically the highest sales month in the quarter, which they accounted for in their revisions. The firm also maintained a positive outlook for the rest of the year, projecting total 2024 deliveries of 1.85 million vehicles, which would be a 2.4 increase, which that's all Elon ever promised was an increase. In terms of profitability, Canaccord has adjusted its third quarter 24 non-GAAP EPS estimate from 98 cents to 75 cents, but that's still ahead of the consensus at 61. This revision takes into account Tesla's aggressive pricing strategies aimed at boosting demand in key markets. The analyst cited strong sales momentum in China and attractive financing options globally as key drivers of the positive outlook. Looking ahead, Canaccord maintains its fourth quarter delivery estimate of 552. Wow, implying a substantial 17.7 quarter-over-quarter increase. And they base this on Tesla's historical patterns, noting the company has averaged a 20.4 quarter-over-quarter gain between the third and fourth quarter since 2019. Well, AJ had some opinions this morning too. He says by the way, someone said, well, who the heck is AJ? What's his name? Anyway, AJ is all we know. That's the only part of, he goes by 𝐒𝐚𝐲, which might have something to do with his name, but he's prefers to remain anonymous. He is known personally by Bradford Ferguson, who describes him as a German car insurance executive, ex-executive maybe. And that's it. That's all I know. That's all he tells us. And for now, that'll have to be it. Anyway, what does he say this morning? He says, well, Tesla has launched a zero down payment at signing in the United States across its entire high volume products, the Model Y and Model 3. He estimates that a new all-time high quarterly delivery record is nearly guaranteed now. He posted to subscribers yesterday, and we reported on that he was, I think, about 384, I want to say, about 384 is what I remember. and he's going to update that later today. He will also post to subscribers a quantification of the financial effects of this promotion. He says the U.S. is by far the largest market for Tesla. For this reason, the marginal volume effect on this promotion is quite material. He says that, by the way, part of this was already reflected in my estimate published yesterday. He saw an inventory buildup in the U.S., and given Tesla's cash flow maximizing strategy, it did not make sense, since they would have normally slowed production. However, the only logical explanation was that Tesla was bringing inventory into position across the U.S. for a quick response time once the promotion dropped. Okay. By the way, VW is planning a battery production capacity cut by 50%. Although VW has announced 6 battery factories many years ago with a great marketing campaign and power company event, not a single one has been completed to date, and most are not even beginning to be constructed. The only battery production of VW globally is a small pilot production capacity in Salzgitter, Germany, which was planned to be expanded to 40 gigawatts at some point. Planned production is now only been reduced by 50% in capacity, and only one line is going to be constructed as of this time. Group Technology Chief Thomas Schmal on Thursday showed a staff meeting a slide showing plans for just one production line at the plant, totaling 20 gigawatt hours of capacity. All right, that's from Reuters. This is Randy Kirk. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify. Thank you for listening this long into the show. That really, really helps. If you listen just a little longer, it'll help even more. And besides, you'll get so much great information. And then Patreon, y'all haven't been really, really jumping in there on Patreon recently. It would really help the program, help the show, help my finances. If you wouldn't mind, maybe, $3 a month, $5 a month, it'd be great. That information down below. Barron's says this morning, most economists are probably wondering if they should change their outlook to a recession right now. Ed Hyman, chairman of Evercore ISI, just pivoted to a soft landing from a hard one. So he's getting like, well, maybe it's not going to be so bad after all. Hyman is one of the most closely watched economists on Wall Street, known for his domination of the institutional investor poll for 4 decades. So when he makes a call, folks, pay attention, even if he's not E.F. Hutton. And on Thursday, he made the very difficult decision to raise his forecast for fourth quarter U.S. gross domestic product to 1% from a -2%. It feels like a bold moment to go soft landing. He writes, however, the hard math that our team has reviewed says he needs to flip to a soft landing outlook. Evercore offered 10 reasons for this change. So this is interesting. Unemployment claims remaining low. That's that 220, 230 a week. Plentiful liquidity. So the M2 is actually popping up a little bit. Slowing inflation. It's giving us a boost. The Federal Reserve's looming rate cut next week, probably. The continued bailout of build out of artificial intelligence, which would be an important one if it's managing to hit bottom lines yet. He says that should also lead economic growth of 1% in the first and second quarters of 2025. So he's looking for flat 23rd, before increasing. Next year, it'll increase toward the end of the year. I think it's going to be much quicker than that. By the second quarter, I believe it'll be increasing. But he's looking at 1% pretty much for the next 4 quarters. Hyman sounds nervous about the call, however. He says because there are also signs that the rate cuts have let me say it again. Because signs that the rate cuts have worked with a lag are visible throughout the economy. These are the negatives he's looking at. He points to falling bond and commodity prices, as well as a warning from Ally Financial on credit conditions from J.P. Morgan Chase on net interest income, for example. Okay, so then we also have the import prices this morning. Prices for U.S. imports declined 0.3% in August after advancing 0.1% in July. U.S. export prices fell 0.7% in August. Export prices fell 0.7% in August, following a 0.5% increased the previous month. So that could be some balancing. Over the past year, import prices rose 0.8% for the entire year, and export prices decreased 0.7% for the entire year. Now, the important one, excluding fuels and food, import prices also slipped 0.1%. That's the so-called core import price, unchanged in July, down 0.1% in August. The dollar strength against other currencies has largely kept imported inflation contained. So remember, when we're dealing with international import and export, it's not just about the tariffs, folks. It's not just about container prices. It's not just about the cost of raw materials around the world. One of the things that impacts it is where's the dollar versus the currency in that nation. Now, a lot of trade is done dollar constant. Almost everything that I've ever done as an importer over the years is dollar constant. But if the currency is being slammed in another country, sometimes they have to raise their prices. Otherwise, they can't make a buck, so to speak. 𝐒𝐮𝐽 does say this morning. He says, look, super core. See, I didn't report this yesterday, and this is where I love 𝐒𝐻𝐵𝐶. Super core inflation rose by 4.5 year over year in August and is now double the levels seen before 2020. Super core inflation is a key metric followed by the Fed, which is calculated as core services less housing inflation. Super core inflation has now been over the Fed's 2% target for 3.5 years and has showed no signs of slowing, even as CPI is down to a 3-year low. This is very, very good reporting. Meanwhile, the Fed is going to cut rates for the first time since 2020 next week. Premature rate cuts may trigger a resurgence of inflation and worsen affordability. However, lack of cuts could cause employment to rise further, which is already at near 3-year highs. So he says the Fed is in a lose-lose situation. I agree with him. Reported this last night ahead of him. So here's my sense. My sense is that goods inflation is probably under control. Services inflation does not appear to be under control. And labor inflation does not appear to be under control. So as I've been looking over this analysis now, day after day after day for my whole life, but really intently for the last 2 years, the issue that I've been talking about in terms of the inflation deflation picture has been really related more to goods and to the core. What we're seeing, though, is labor is not responding to the Fed cuts. And so we're looking at 4%, basically, year over year labor increases. That 4% labor increase is impacting services way more than it does goods. And that is, and services is 3 times as big a market in the United States as goods are. So I'm not sure that inflation is really under control yet. And this is what 𝐒𝐵𝐶 is putting out. All right, or pointing out. This is from Financial Juice, Financial Juice, at Financial Juice on X. He says, higher tariffs on Chinese steel, aluminum, EVs, EV batteries, and certain battery materials are to start on September 27th. Other tariffs to start on January 1st, 2025 and January 1st, 2026. Jeff Lutz responds to this. He says, we are hearing that it is a sales tax on Americans to do tariffs, but they're adding to them by a lot. He says that's an interesting way to level with the American people. So, okay, on the one hand, you're saying, oh, Trump, you're completely wrong and you're messed up. And how can you be doing these terrible things of adding tariffs, which will be a tax on the American people and hurts the poor the worst? Oh, but the Biden administration did not reduce the tariffs imposed by Trump during his term, and they've added to those tariffs substantially and are continuing to add to them. Okay, well, so, you don't want politicians to be consistent, do you? No, that wouldn't work out that well. All right, so let's start this morning with Tesla, as always, up, down, right now down 89 cents in an up market. Now it's flattening out, not as much volatility. The Dow is continuing up, though. It's looking stair-step up at 255. NASDAQ up 93, also moving nicely up, and the S&P up 28. So, and Tesla, no, Tesla continues to be volatile, down $1.59, just in that minute that we just were talking. Okay, we've got the Magnificent Seven mixed this morning with NVIDIA down, Meta down, and the rest are up. And you've got the Cathie Woods basically all up. All right, let's go ahead and, percentage-wise, that would be the Dow up 0.72, 0.68 now. Well, you see, volatility. NASDAQ 0.55 up, S&P up 0.48, and Tesla down 0.78. Apple has now gone red. A lot of volatility today. All right, let's go ahead and look at those bonds. Where you've got the bonds sitting down 1.6 basis points at 3.664. Nice. All right, and let's take a look at the rest of them. This is the important one. Listen to this now. 2-year down 5.7 basis points at 3.593, putting it substantially below the 3.664. 7 basis points, something like that. Yeah, about 7 basis points. So we now have the reinversion or the disinversion or the dis-reinversion. Anyway, whatever it is very strong now. The 2-month also down more than the 10-year at 5.05, but it was down more than that earlier when I was checking a look. All right, so let's go on to the oil. Oil is up strongly this morning, up $1.05 or 1.52%. On Texas Intermediate, we are now back over 70, and you've got Brent back 72.98, almost exactly the $3. That's three, not three. It's $3 difference that is the norm. So very normal trading in oil right now. Natural gas up 0.68. Wow, it's up 2.373. In fact, a lot of assets up strongly this morning. Gold breaking through 2,600 at 26.05, up 0.93%, or $24 this morning. Silver up over $31 now, 31.085, up 3.25% this morning. Copper up 0.74 this morning at 4.227. Wow. Like I said, lots of increases in the in all the in all pretty much assets across the board. The dollar is up against the euro 0.1445, down against the yen 0.85. And we've got the Bitcoin is one asset that's dropping this morning, down 203 to 5808, 58,087. And that brings us to the end of the list. All right, going back one more time to Tesla. Tesla now down 1%, and down 2.26. That is about getting close to the low of the day. I have no idea. I'm not even going to make a guess at how things are going to turn out today because the volatility in Tesla in particular is so strong. All right, so this later this morning, we have got Cern. Yeah, you missed Cern yesterday, Cern Basher. Yeah, well, he's got some news. Well, actually, it's all over X. I can tell you in advance that Cern has purchased himself a Cybertruck. So I'm sure he'll have something to tell us about that this morning. And he's got a lot of other exciting stuff. I've already seen a little bit of what he's going to be talking about. And then later tonight, Larry Goldberg will be here for the good news. And I'm sure, well, we got Canaccord's good news. How come the stock is down with Canaccord putting up these good numbers? And, you'd think that would be good for the stock. I think there's something going on that I'm just not aware of. Okay, Patreon, come on, guys. I'm seriously, you've got $3 or $5 that you can throw my way. All right, that's all I got for you right now. It's been great talking to you. I can't find my way out of here. There's got to be a way to stop this.